Assalamu alaikum, and welcome to an episode of Responses to Critics under the QNet TV channel. Tonight we will be talking about Sheikh Feiz's criticism of the Quranists. That was a video which came out about a year ago, where Sheikh Feiz leveled a few points against the Quranist position. Tonight we won't be addressing his entire video because that's a bit long, but instead we will be addressing 3 points which he made in the early part of his video. Inshallah, we will be moving on to the second and third part, or perhaps just the second part, next week. The first point I would like to address is from the start of Sheikh Feiz's video to the first minute, where he claims that Quranists reject the Sunnah. This is incorrect. Quranists do not reject the Sunnah of the Prophet. We have to ask here, what is the definition of the term Sunnah of the Prophet? It is the path which the Prophet followed. Quranists do not reject the path that the Prophet followed. On the contrary, we hope to copy and follow exactly what the Prophet followed, and this is why we rely only on the Quran. This is how we differ from traditionalist Muslims. Traditionalist Muslims rely on hadith, reports, perhaps seerah and other sources, but Quranists say no, we can't rely on these things. In order to be 100% accurate as to what the Prophet did, we can only rely on what Allah has protected. And what did Allah protect? Well, if we open chapter 15 verse 9, Allah says, Inna nahnu nazzalna dhikra wa inna lahu lahafizun. Verily it is we who descend a dhikr, and it is we who are to it its protector. So Allah protects us dhikr. A dhikr is the oral, memorized Quran. It's Allah who's protecting this. Allah does not protect any other source. So we can only rely on this source to attain authentic information about what the Prophet did. The Quran represents the authentic teachings of the Prophet, and Quranists wish to learn about this and to follow it in the best manner possible. Now to Sheikh Feiz's second point, which you can find in minute 1.10. He claims here that Quranists say Quran is sufficient. This is not a claim which we make despite what the Quran says. Let's be very clear on this. We do not say this, that the Quran says it's sufficient, despite the fact the Quran says, well, you must also rely on this and you must also rely on that, etc., etc. No, the Quran says no such thing. We make that claim because the Quran itself alludes to that fact. It's a natural deduction on our part. Have a look at chapter 45 verse 6. Allah says, تِلْكَ آيَاتُ اللَّهِ نَتْلُهَا عَلَيْكَ بِالْحَقِّ فَبِأَيِّ حَدِيثٍ بَعْدَ اللَّهِ وَآيَاتِهِ يُؤْمِنُونَ. These are the signs of Allah. We rehearse them on you in truth. So in which hadith, that's the word, hadith. So in which hadith, after Allah and His signs, do they believe? Why did Allah actually use the word hadith here? Well, hadith means narration, news, event. So Allah is asking you, in which hadith, after Allah and His ayat, do they believe? That's very scary actually. It's very scary that Allah uses the same word to describe these news, narrations, events. Allah did not say after which hadith except for the hadith of the Prophet. He never said that. He said, فَبِأَيِّ حَدِيثٍ بَعْدَ اللَّهِ وَآيَاتِهِ يُؤْمِنُونَ. So after, in which hadith, after Allah and His signs, do they believe? Right, and now we move on to the last point for this evening, where Sheikh Feiz says that the Quran cannot be understood without hadith. In other words, the Quran isn't clear enough. Now this is indeed very strange. For anyone who reads the Quran, I would say this is very strange indeed. There are a number of ayat, signs or verses which address this point about the Quran not being clear. But today I will use only one verse, because I think this verse is particularly pertinent in this case. Here's the verse. It's chapter 10 verse 15. Allah says, وَإِذَا تُتْلَى عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتُنَا بَيِّنَاتٍ. And when is rehearsed on them the clarifying signs. So Allah has called, sorry, it's not the clarifying signs, but our clarifying signs. وَإِذَا تُتْلَى عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتُنَا بَيِّنَاتٍ. Our clarifying signs. So Allah is saying our signs are clarifying. بَيِّنَاتٍ. قَالَ الَّذِينَ لَا يَرْجُنَا لِقَائِنَا. Those who do not rely on the meeting with us, they say, أَأْتِ بِقُرْآنٍ غَيْرِ هَذَا أَوْ بَدِّلْهُ. Produce a Quran other than this, or change it. Now, this is indeed very strange. They did not say, we don't really understand this, O Prophet, can you please explain it to us with hadith, and then we'll understand it and we'll accept, or not accept. They didn't say this. They understood it. They said, أَأْتِ بِقُرْآنٍ غَيْرِ هَذَا. The only thing is, they weren't satisfied with it, so they said, bring us a Quran other than this, أَوْ بَدِّلْهُ, or change it. Now, let's ponder on that a moment. Why did these people understand it? They didn't even believe. They did not rely on the meeting with Allah, yet they understood the Quran. So the Prophet was told, in this same ayah, the Prophet was told to respond to them. The Prophet said, مَا يَكُونُ لِي أَنْ أُبَدِّلَهُ مِنْ تِلْقَاءِ نَفْسِي. Say, Allah is telling the Prophet, say, it is not for me to change it of my own self. I cannot change it. So why didn't the Prophet at this point tell them, don't worry, I'm going to give my hadith and that's going to explain it, and then it's going to be clear for you? He didn't even say that. It was clear. The ayat were clear. Ayatuna bayyinat. These are clarifying ayat. Next, what was the Prophet told to say? إِنْ أَتَبِّعُ إِلَّا مَا يُوحَى إِلَيَّ. I follow only what is revealed to me. So what's revealed to him? He follows only what is revealed to him. So what is revealed to him? أَأْتِ بِقُرْآنٍ غَيْرِ هَذَا. Produce a Quran other than this. أَوْ بَدِّلْهُ, or change it. So the revelation is only focused on the Quran, nothing else. So it's indeed very strange that Sheikh Feiz, who is a believer, cannot understand the Quran without hadith. Yet there are people here, لا يرجون لقاءنا, who do not rely on the meeting with Allah. They understood it. So Sheikh Feiz, I think you need to look at this very clearly. And that brings us to the end of this episode. Inshallah, we will be dealing with Sheikh Feiz's concept of sound, authentic, confirmed narrations of hadith. There are many weaknesses in that argument, which we will deal with in the next episode, inshallah. Thank you very much for your viewership. Bye.